Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons Insurance, Penrite Oil, Hare and Forbes Machinery House, and Pace Farm Eggs. Hello and welcome to another Classic Restos exclusive. But before we go any further, you need to see this really cool stuff from the people that help to make Classic Restos happen each and every week. It's thanks to Shannons. Ask about multi-policy discounts and sign up for the Shannons Club. Call 134646 for a quote and see more at shannons.com.au. For oils, coolants, additives and technical assistance, Oil Right, use Penrite. And Hare & Forbes has the range. Buy online at machineryhouse.com.au. Well, here I am in Shepperton in regional Victoria. And if you're into your iconic racing classics, well then you're in for a bit of a treat. Welcome to the Bathurst Legends, here for a short time only at the Shepparton Motor Museum. And of course it's proudly supported by Shannons Insurance. I don't know about you, but our classic cars that we grew up with are certainly one thing. But when you see our beloved domestic sedans used as racing cars, a whole new level of respect is served as an entree and a main meal together on the one plate. You see, standard cars, with a few mods here and there, used to be used in race applications. One day's punishment on parts at a track such as Bathurst equalled countless years of normal wear from family motoring. These cars made you want to buy one back then, brand new. Race on Sunday, sell on Monday was every car salesman's incentive back then to kick off the chenille bedspread and run to work awaiting the big sale. These cars were the sales reps' cars, the main family's car, the secondary car. Some towed boats out of the water at the ramps and pulled caravans up and down hills all day. Yes sir, these race cars are the modified domestics. And if you're watching and you happen to be over 60 years of age, you'll remember every one of them. We have one of these extraordinary people here, one of the volunteers here at the Shepparton Motor Museum. Hello, Graeme.
Hi, Fletch.
Thanks for being here.
It's a pleasure.
I mean, you know, you're retired, you're a busy guy, you've come in on, from your day off and to be here with Fletch. I think a lot of that.
Thank you, but it's all for the museum. I love the cars, I love the people that come through, and the more interest we have from people, this is why this place keeps going.
How lucky is it for you? You get to that stage of your career where I just alluded to, you're retired. You come in here as a volunteer, you love this place, you perform active roles here. It's just a gigantic hobby for you, isn't it?
It is. When you retire, you either play golf, play the pokies, sit in a chair, or you get off your ass and come and do something like this. This is like working in a nursing home. All these old cars seem to drop oil on the ground, so they poo their pants regularly. Someone has to come along and clean it up. And I volunteered and I got that job and I didn't have to apply for it. It was just, there it is, do it.
I couldn't think of a better thing to put a nappy under. I mean, look at these awesome machines here. To see so many legendary cars as kids growing up watching them on TV, racing around various racetracks, and to see them here in the flesh like this, it's quite surreal. Now, in 1961, a very proud Bob Jane and co-driver Harry Firth had the privilege of belting this poor XL Falcon around. Tell us what you can about this particular replica car, Graeme.
It's been reproduced and Bob Jane has personally signed the glove box of it. The first car, no one knows where it is. But Bob, I was told when we picked it up from his premises at Calder Park, had tears in his eyes the day they presented it to him to sign. Now that man is a very well-noted and very tough man in business. For Bob to have tears in his eyes, it must be great to see that something came back to him and the guy that did it, and we're very proud to have it here, and it's a proud piece of equipment here today. You're not going to see cars like this anymore. A lot of young guys listening to this and watching it are going to say, Falcon, what was that? I wasn't even born then. I've been around long enough. I got snow on the top that tells me I drove in them and rode in them, no seat belts. They were a hell of a thing to drive, but a lot of fun, and now they're here for everybody to see, and I just hope that they enjoy this, and we'll come here until the end of June and see them.
Now, the 1961 Falcon 2, criticised back in the time, being a flimsy car, a light-bodied car designed for the American turnpikes where roads were nice and smooth. The Australian conditions here, the regional areas, dirt roads, corrugations, shook a lot of cars to pieces. It was a great accolade in 61 for this car to win the Armstrong 500.
Yes, the Armstrong 500 was at Phillip Island in those days before they moved it up to Bathurst. And these cars were notorious for dropping ball joints out the front and had to be recalled and replaced because American conditions were total difference to Australia, and this is what happened to them. Yeah. So they rebuilt them here, and they went on, and they're tough, and they're made of metal, and I mean heavy. Today's light cars are thin in body, very strong, but these were heavy as well. And
one thing that'll wreck a car's front end all day long is driving them across farm paddocks, corrugated roads. That's the two major things that'll chew out the front end of most cars. And even our brand new cars of today, I'd like to see those cars back in the conditions of 1960 in some of our regional areas. It would have been a very interesting exercise to see how they would have stood up.
If you've got a Falcon or a Commodore and it's plastic fantastic now, it's like a Tupperware car, and you hit something, it's everywhere. And the old metal ones, they bent, we took them in, panel beated them out, spray painted over the top, they're back on the road, but you can't do that anymore.
You're watching this special episode of Classic Restos, the Bathurst Racing Legends, here at the Shepparton Motor Museum. Hope you're really enjoying this week's episode. Back with more right after this.
Every weekend around Australia, motoring enthusiasts get together to share their passion for cars and bikes. It's a passion that brings us together. All sorts of people, all sorts of cars and bikes. From the classics of today to the classics of tomorrow. At Shannons, we understand enthusiasts. So when it comes to insurance, it's got to be Shannons. Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts. Call 13 46 46 for a quote.
Penrite, Australian-made, family-owned and operated. Make premium quality engine and racing oils, warranty-approved coolants, automatic transmission and manual gear oils, a complete range of engine and fuel additives, heavy-duty and industrial products for every application. Visit penriteoil.com for more information. Penrite, Australian-made for Australian conditions since 1926.
If you need a new piece of equipment for your workshop, you need Hare and Forbes Machinery House. Hare and Forbes Machinery House have showrooms around Australia and New Zealand that will have you browsing for hours. See the largest range of industrial and workshop DIY tools. You will be greeted by friendly, helpful staff, and you can buy from anywhere online at machineryhouse.com.au. Hare and Forbes Machinery House. Find your closest store at machineryhouse.com.au. Graeme, tell us a little bit about the museum, what it stands for.
We're lucky, Fletch, to have it here in Shepparton. A local businessman over a bottle of red wine one night had a building and a lot of cars, and they got together and put it together for everyone to come and enjoy. And I'm a volunteer, and the credit must go to Graeme Balfour, our manager and curator here, who puts it all together. So you guys can come and see something that I see every day of the week for nothing. But you come, enjoy it, and see cars like behind us, the Dick Johnson Greens-Tuf, that you'll only ever see probably once again somewhere. But we've got it, along with 23 others here at the moment, Nissans, Peter Brock cars, Jim Richards, Alan Moffat, you name them, they're here.
These cars from an iconic era, all together for the first time, are only here for a certain amount of time. Now, what date in June?
It'll run till the 30th of June and may extend a little bit longer if we can keep them. But these people want their cars back to go historic racing in them or for display purposes.
Now, about the museum, in terms of when you walk through the door, you're greeted with the foyer. Now, if that's not an impulse spend, how many guys do you see come in and they just have to walk out with a sign or something?
Normally we say to them, what are you allowed to buy, because it's her credit card today. And normally they buy something. There's a sign there, a memorabilia treasure that you haven't seen anywhere else. Our managers source them from all over the place.
Now, walking through the museum, we go to the other side, I guess you'd say the western side, up some stairs. We've got the upstairs area. Now, I know, Graeme, that drinking alcohol and driving cars is not a good mix, but do you guys have a lot of beers after work or something? Because you got walls of empty tins up there, and don't try and tell me for one moment that you haven't had anything to do with that.
The only part I had was pulling them out of a property in Wodonga. A man in Wodonga had for sale 3,000 empty beer cans, his collection, and he wanted to see them displayed before his time is up. And our owner of this property decided that he would buy them, that we would go to Wodonga, pull them down, put them on display here. And as the museum gets bigger, we'll ask you guys out there who love these old cans, and you've got some, bring them to us, we'll build the racks, and we'll make a display of empty cans as well.
Now, showcasing the people that like to contribute to the wall, you've got some classic motorcycles there too. Some incredible old stuff sitting there.
Everything here, motorcycles, push bikes, cars, are privately owned. The museum owns nothing. They're all on loan from you guys who want to display your vehicle. So you bring them along, we display them for 3 or 4 months, we ring you up, you come and take it home, and there's always someone with another car of equal quality that wants to show it, and we'll fill that spot.
Graeme, a fascinating Torana. What's the story here with this car?
This is one that was hauled out of South Australia in the National Motor Museum to be here with its brothers this weekend. It was the original Holden Dealer Team car with Harry Firth's name touched on it. It's been many cars in its time, a rally car, a race car, showing its age, but it's iconic. And
Supercharged on a 6.
Supercharged grey motor and hanging in there, and probably still beat the pants off your V8 today if you want to try him against it somewhere.
These early Toranas, they weren't even a tonne in weight. I mean, they were, the power to weight ratio on these things are amazing.
It is. Now you put a turbocharger on something and it'll blow your doors off. I'd give this a run for its money and it'd beat me every day.
Now, Graeme, I don't know if it had to do with the drugs back in the 70s, but what's the colour scheme going on back there on the roof there?
On the roof, when they start to rub it back, every time this car was painted, it was painted a different colour. So it's been blue, green, red, yellow, and every other colour you can think of. And we're a bit worried that some hippie might come in, cut a panel out of the roof here because it's every colour of the rainbow. And this car must have at least a couple of 100 kilos of weight on it just in paint alone, let alone the roll bars.
When you see that the splitty, the old combi splitty van pull up out the front with the surfboard on top, a couple of blokes lob it in, you'll know that they're after the colour scheme on that turret.
They're probably on better medication than I'm on. Thank you.
Now, Graeme, if anyone's had any bad luck at Bathurst, it had to be Dick Johnson. Yet, to me, he drove some of the more awesome cars. This is the second XL Falcon, the one they worked all through the night on, following Dick, wiping out the first one, cleaning up the forest.
True. It's a Ford man. If you're a Ford man, you'd love it. But to see a car put together, and I didn't see that, but I've heard the story, and this is the result of it behind us, 16 hours all night. You've got a sign writer who had to sign write. They didn't have vinyl letters in those days.
That was Wayne King at Nathalia too. What an icon he is.
Here he is putting wet paint on a car to drive out at 10 a.m. the next morning and race. So they stripped the bent car, took the bits out of it and put it into this one.
Dick's cars went hard though, didn't they?
Dick drove hard and he had some secrets under that bonnet. He had a very heavy right foot and a man could punt things. He could keep it on the track. The Peter Brocks, Dick Johnsons, Alan Moffat, those guys drove by the seat of their pants. They didn't have torsion bar, adjustable suspensions and things that the modern cars have got at Bathurst now. These were seat of the pants jobs and they drove them the same way and probably bloody harder.
American Iron, you got to love it. And you can see more on a Fletch tour.
There is nothing
quite like a Fletch Tour. Carlisle or Ford Nationals, GM Nationals and Chrysler Nationals await you.
Book a Fletch Tour. It's amazing.
Seen some absolutely amazing cars. What an event.
Experience Route 66 from Chicago to Vegas or choose the Detroit Tour.
I would make it a point to go to Fletch Tours and come to Detroit.
There are 5 Fletch Tours. Select the one that suits you best. See fletchtours.com or contact All Things Travel, Lara.
In 1926, Australia's Penrite Oil Company was established. Almost 90 years of research, development and refining under the harsh Australian conditions has made Penrite Oil what it is today. Precision, performance, reliability and protection. Championship winning products. Trust Penrite.
If you need a new piece of equipment for your workshop, you need Hare and Forbes Machinery House. From a garage jack through to a lathe, Hare and Forbes has the range. And Hare and Forbes Machinery House are Australian owned, established since 1930. You will be greeted by friendly, helpful staff and you can buy from anywhere online at machineryhouse.com.au. Hare and Forbes Machinery House. Find your closest store at machineryhouse.com.au.
We've always had a few cars. They're all special. The T-Bird.
Oh, that's mine.
The Combi for when we want to get away. The XR8.
It's going to be a classic.
They're all insured with Shannons,
We've also got Shannon's home and contents cover.
which helps protect our automotive collectibles, tools and memorabilia in the home and garage. If you're motoring enthusiasts like us, it's got to be
Shannon's.
Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts. Call 13 46 46 for a quote.
And welcome back. You know, when it comes to British cars, although sold here in Australia, the 1960 Cresta, I have to say, would have to go down as probably one of the more stylish machines that were available.
Very smart looking car for its age, probably before its time. And the gentleman who went to the general manager at Cheney's, who were the Vauxhall dealers, said to the general manager, if we could get a car of this calibre run in, which was his private car, you've already run it in, I'll prep it, we'll take it to Phillip Island for the Armstrong 500. In those days they were running classes, A, B, C, D, up to this litre and so forth. They took a whole team down there and they did the whole race in 8 hours odd. They changed the tyres and they filled the petrol. Remember those days you changed the tyre with a wheel brace, no air guns. The petrol was put in with a 4-gallon drum or 20 litres as it is today. They did the whole race and worked out the brakes will last, the front tyre won't. And he won. It was the first car across the line at the end, so they call him the winner, but he really did win his class, and they still class it as the winner of the day. And the gentleman that owns it treasures it, and we're lucky to have it here. We've got a lot of Australian cars and American cars, but this is British and it stands out in its history.
Now we have an 8th month 1971 RT Charger. Yes, the 265, we've got the triples there. When you've only got to drive a 245 back in the days of a 1970 VG and put your foot down and feel how good those things went. These really did rule supremacy when it came to the 6-cylinder class.
I've had a number of Valiants in my life. Most of them you pointed into the corner and the back beats you around the corner. You've got torsion bar front suspension and springs at the back. And those two geometry doesn't work. But these guys who drove these at Bathurst need credit where credit's due to handle it because they had a mind of their own. It had the power, but the back wanted to get into the corner first.
Well, they certainly had a shorter back section as well. Not making them a short wheelbase car, but they didn't have a lot of overhang out there.
Right, and this one in particular race there has got a 9-inch diff in the back of it to hold it together because the Valiant, with the power that it had and the torque and torture that they put it through, Only a 9-inch would keep her together. So let's say she's a Valiant and the 9-inch just fell under there.
That's why I love them, because they were a little bit different, and all things aside, they were a tremendous motor car. In fact, in E49 specs, the 265 with the triple Weber carbies held the acceleration record right through until the year of 2000, until the 5.7 came along in the Commodore down the 400 metre, running around a 14 flat, which is awesome when you consider VH starting in 1971, holding that through to year 2000.
I'd still have a Valiant, nothing against a Holden or a Ford, but these were a magic car for horsepower. This being a straight 6, upright, the slant 6, why'd they slant it? Because they wanted longer stroke. And there's the secret. Today's little engines are bobbing up and down like motorcycles, working hard, and it gets the power, but the torque was in these longer stroked engines, but we've lost them now and they're gone forever.
I have to say, Graeme, that when it comes to four-cylinder cars, in the classic department, I have a soft spot for the Datsuns, the almighty Datto. Now, have a look at this car, a 1973 240K. This is what a bloody good-looking vehicle this is.
Well, it's been a long day, Fletch, and you've shown on classic Restos muscle cars with lots of chrome and lots of iron, and here, this is your pick today of a little Datsun. Now, I think you're getting tired and you hope instead of running on racing fuel, it runs on sake and you're going to have a good night. But it is a beautifully presented car, and we're lucky to have it here at the Shep Museum for not only classic Resto fans to see, but others as well.
You know, you see some of the early box model 1600 Datsuns getting around, and very occasionally you might see the odd Datto 180B. You don't see these, and I'm surprised that you don't. It's not that they weren't a good car. It's not as though they didn't stand up. I don't know in terms of production numbers why, but you just don't see this shape on the road anymore.
No, I followed this up with a Datsun 260Z 2+2, and a magic little car. Lots of power, and obviously someone saw the potential in this as a race car and developed it, and it's beautifully presented, and that's your choice, and even you're getting tired and you still love it.
I just think, look, the Datto fraternity, you're sitting at home watching the show and you love your Datsuns, you've got to love this car. Now, accolades for this particular 240K from 1973, what can you tell us there, Graeme?
A winner at the in the Bathurst race, 7th outright and 2nd in its class. And that's moving for a car of that size. Remember, it's power to weight. The big boys, you can go anywhere and see a Mustang flying, and you see a little Mini behind it catch up.
Under brakes.
Under brakes and corners. And these were the ones that could outclass and outlast the others. And it's the Japanese technology that's been built in. And here's the proof of it.
Well, there you go. What a variance across the board on today's episode. Graeme, I just want to thank you for time out. The Salt of the Earth guys, these volunteers here at these museums around the country, overseas, all the volunteers to these motoring museums do a wonderful job. Graeme, just want to thank you again, mate. Well done.
On behalf of the Motor Museum management, thank you for Classic Restos giving us the opportunity to show you guys out there what we've got to see. Come and visit us, and thank you.
Good on you, mate. Website details on the bottom of the screen now. Check out the Shepparton Motor Museum. Come in and have a good look. Thanks, mate.
Thank you, Fletch.
How good is this? Does it get any better? I guess you have to be a car person to really get it. But for most, these cars take you back to your childhood. Racing cars provide high impact, and if your dad drove the same model or similar back in the day, 6-cylinder or V8, that made it even more special. These cars once were the untouchables, out of reach to most, yet down-tuned versions were available at your local dealer. How things have changed. You can call it progress, automotive evolution perhaps, but to me, this era has left a hole by today's standards. This is a bygone era where cars were different, times were different, and in some cases, even people. These are four-wheel moving time capsules now sitting in retirement. There's no more redline revving on a regular basis here anymore. once asphalt ground-pounding circuit races that hundreds of thousands of fans enjoyed. A few mods with standard interiors, lovable paint schemes and well-known sponsors, these are some of the Bathurst legends. Well, I love this place, and I know you will too when you visit the Shepparton Motor Museum. The Bathurst Legends for a limited time only, and you've seen it first on Classic Restos. Until next week, no matter where you're watching from, please ride and drive safe. I'm Fletch, and I thank you very much for watching. You can like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/ClassicRestosTV and watch catch-up episodes at shannons.com.au. Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons Insurance, Penrite Oil, Hare and Forbes Machinery House, and Pace Farm Eggs.